It's going now. Good morning, everyone. This is Matt from Vetter Software. Thanks again for your patience. Had a number of clinics just jump on and join. Today's topic will cover inventory actions and uses. And I appreciate the healthy attendance. Give me a moment, please. I'm going to mute everyone. And if you can keep yourselves muted, because just so you understand, right, the background noise generally in the clinic is picked up then by everyone. Please send your questions in via the chat, which I'll check every few minutes. And then at the end, we can unmic ourselves and ask questions directly. And I appreciate everyone's kind of following there of the so-called rules. And let me go ahead and begin. So I'm in my demo account, and let's just jump over to a random inventory item, just so we have a better idea here of what's going on. And I'm going to start off with inventory uses, and I'll begin with a rabies vaccine here. Okay, now inventory uses are found right down here in the middle control bar, kind of the right-hand side of the page. They are used, no pun intended, or useful for when you're pulling items from the same tray. This generally applies just to vaccines, and in most cases, it's the rabies vaccines, where you might have a tray of 100 of them, and you have a 1 year and a 3 year in there. They're the same item essentially, and you want to pull from one inventory set. Also, for those of you in the South and Southwest with the rattlesnake vaccines, where there's this series of them, and there's a bunch of them, and right, they're all the same essentially, and you want to track inventory coming from one tray. So what we'll do here in this case is take this Novavax vaccine. We call this the parent. This controls overall inventory balance, such as, well, I have a negative balance because it's a demo account. But if any purchases I record against the parent. Notice there's no 1 year, no 3 year, there's nothing there. I just record the purchases, right? And it records my whole sales history, right? And of course, sales by item will break this down even further into 1 year and 3 year items. It records my purchases, right? All my adjustments here. So that's what you use that for. Now, the children are what we put in the uses. And the children in this case are a 1 year and a 3 year, okay? And you have Novavax 1 year, right? And a 3 year. And if this were, let's say, if I wanted to add even more, if there was a 6 year rabies, for example, right? I could just go ahead and name it. Well, I don't have a 6 year reminder, okay? But let's say a 4 year one, and I could put it in there and call it, Novavax 4 year, right? And boom, and save and done, right? And I could always edit these things, not a problem. And I go ahead and I hit delete. Okay, now the way this shows up on a patient record, okay, is relatively simple too. So let me go to a sample patient here. We'll use Buddy from Hooch and Turner. We use good old Buddy Turner. And if I come here, for example, and notice this is an old reminder, and before somebody didn't use inventory uses. And notice it's just the parent that's listed there. If moving forward, if we went ahead here and added a record, okay, and pops up, and I type in Novavax, right, I'm just going to get the 1 and 3 year options, okay? And I put this in, right, 3 year, boom, 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 and let's just put this on a new invoice here, and I'm going to hit save and done. And there's tasks and stuff associated with it. Just ignore those, right? Now it comes up. The Novavax is here. Now, if, and the reminder has been generated right here, 3 years hence, software sends out a reminder to the owner, Scott Turner, all is well. Okay? Now, 3-year, if I come back to here and I take a look at the sales history, right, it will show this, and here it is. But you know what? It's not going to tell you the 1 and 3 year, because this is an older kind of, this was not built, the sales history, to take in the inventory uses. Fortunately, though, right, in our reports, right, we built this a few months ago, are the right sales by item, which are far more granular and far more useful. And so if here, if you wanted to get the actual, like right here, the Novivac 3-year, right, it's going to break it down. And if you want to see the complete history, right, I can always jump to here and take a look. Hey, here's the invoice, Scott Turner, buddy, boom, here's the sale. So just wanted to show you how the record keeping all plays out inside of Vetter, okay? And I'm going to pause right now to see if there's any questions on uses. No, we're doing well. Now, these become fairly simple to use, the inventory uses. Again, I think I have a rattlesnake one here, rattlesnake vaccine. And that's kind of like the parent here, and I should have the uses underneath. Right, and then you can break 1 month, 6 months, 12 months, however many, and just, one leads into the other, essentially, okay? Now, so just a moment here. Now, one other item, let me jump back to the Novivac, is I'm going to break into actions now. Now, one thing that you can do with these actions, right, is to create more reminders. Right now, the system allows for one default reminder that is set up, okay? Now, if I go to my actions, though, and I want to create a secondary reminder, okay, and I don't have any yet, this is how we would do this, okay? New action, and I would say create reminder. And I can create a reminder for this item or another item, unrelated, and that's great for a vaccine series, and we're going to show you how to do that in a little bit, okay? And I say here, oops, sorry, my mistake. I want to, do it by email, mail, phone, whatever, what have you. I have a 1 week prior default set up in settings. If I wanted to make it 2 weeks prior, and so they get 2 reminders now, not a problem. And in fact, I find these so important, these vaccine reminders, because compliance matters. I'm going to also send them an item, and some clinics do this. We'll remind you 2 days afterwards, just in case, right? Make sure you get these things. So now you can add, right, as many actions or reminders as you wish, and this dovetails perfectly or meshes perfectly with your intent for uses. You want to increase compliance. Compliance increases, patient health. This is all a good thing. Just a moment. I'm going to mute. Let me make sure we're all muted here. Sorry, just doing a few more mutes. Okay, thank you. Now, mind you, I can keep going with these reminders. I can create one 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever you wish. Now, understand something. When you're creating multiple reminders, and this is now going to relate to reminder preferences for people, is if I jump to a sample client, okay, let me jump to a sample client here. And let's go to Mr. Gargamel. You've all seen me use him, my guy from the Smurfs. Now, I look at his reminder preferences here, and they are email and mail. Now, right, Vetter allows for all 4, and assuming you have texting turned on, and there were 4 reminders, Vetter would, in order, send email, then text, because we're cloud-based, right? Then they would send postcards because we could do that, and then phone would be last, because obviously the software can't call someone. The reason I mention this is because when you're when using Action to send multiple reminders, the reminders will then cascade down a client preference. So for example, The default 1 week reminder that's just automatically sent by the software will be sent, right, via the client's primary preference. In this case, right, it's email. And this is how it was set up for him. Okay? If all 4 were there, it would still send it via email. Now, that second reminder, that is 2 weeks before it's due, that is going to be sent now via the client's secondary preference, right? Because we're trying to hit all the processes. And if these were all here, it would send it via text. And that third reminder 2 days afterwards, you would have to then send a postcard. Now, you can always choose to override that, right, in reminders detail. You can choose to override this and just, right, send them all one way. Look, the easiest way moving forward is to give one client one reminder preference. I just keep multiple ones in here just for demo purposes, but one reminder preference. But if you have multiple ones, I just want everyone to know they then cascade down. That second email goes the second reminder option, the third one, the third, because we're trying to give you options there. All right, I hope that made sense. Checking for questions. No, we're doing good. We're doing well, excuse me. Okay, so that's a look at the uses for items being pulled from the same tray. Also, how I can use then actions to combine these all together. Now, let's review. I'm going to review the easiest actions first, okay? Every item has the option for an alert. And when I say alert, I'm talking a low balance expiration alert. Now, I already have the expiration alert set here apparently. I'll show you that in a moment. So, hey, I want to know when there's 10 remaining, or what have you. That will show up on your inventory dashboard. Here is expiration 30 days before. Again, all of these can be edited or deleted. So that's a very easy action to employ. And that's something you should do for all of your items. And I know someone's going to say, that's a lot. It's tedious. And you're correct. And the way to make that more efficient, especially with the setting of alerts, is to use the bulk update feature right up here. Now, not every staff member has quote unquote the privilege, right? The permission, to use bulk update. So make sure that your administrator gives you that and that it's found in settings and permissions. And if I hit the bulk update and I say, I can do this by item, I can do this by category, and I might have to just list the categories I want to do it on. But if, let's just say, I don't know, for all my vaccines, I want to have an action that sets a alert, right, for, however many days prior. And I want to do a low balance one too. And this is a really good idea to setting how to manage inventory, is to do generalized functions, just like that. Now, yes, I realize different drugs are going to have different balances, but expiration could be fairly general. Just a way to make your life hopefully a little easier there. Okay? Now, coming to the next action, and let's go back to our Novivac here. I'm going to go the easiest actions first. We have also printing certificates. Okay? What this means is that anytime a vaccine certificate or anytime a rabies is given, or that vaccine like a Bordetella is given, a DAPPV, etc., anything is given, what that means is as soon as this is attached, right now I'm not connected to a printer, so I just generate a PDF. But if you're connected to your clinic printer, that means whatever that item is added to a patient record, the printer will automatically print out a certificate. Now, in some of our high volume vaccine clinics, it's a print fest, right? They're doing 8 to 10 an hour, and they're just being spit out. Now, that's one way you can do that, right? understand there's also, we encourage the use of the checkout feature in the schedule to print everything at once. But some clinics prefer to print these on the spot, and you can do so right there. Some clinics also, if you want to really have people, you want to do reminders. If you wanted to do reminders, right, you could tie this, for example, to a bundle, a reminder certificate. But I'm going to be honest with you on this one. Even though we have that functionality to print rabies vaccine and reminders, there's not a lot of use to printing the reminder certificate tied to a specific item. It just really isn't. Okay? And so this is here because, well, we print these things, but it's just a recommendation. I would say probably don't need to use that. You can print the reminders summary or reminder certificate directly from the patient record, also from when you check out. Okay. Now, take a look at the use case for a couple other actions. Let me go to a spay here. And I'm pretty certain this will have this action. Oh, no, it doesn't. Good. So we can do it. Let's say you have a spay-neuter procedure. And I can then, if I hit set patient to desext, that means, right, the client will automatically be desexed when the said procedure is performed. And of course, this can update all or none of the bundles, right? Along those lines, the same goes with euthanasia. And I'm going to pull one here, let's just say for medium-sized animals. And I'm pretty certain this might already have that action. Yes, it does. So I'm going to delete this just so you can see it again. And what we'll do here is as follows. We'll hit new action. Anytime you have to have a euthanasia procedure, right, it'll decease the patient. And more importantly, it'll deactivate reminders. Okay? And that's, of course, because nobody wants to receive a reminder for a perished pet that's perished. It's no bueno. And here, Actions automates this. And again, you don't want to have to go through all your euthanasia and all of your spays. I get that. Go and bulk update this. Use the bulk update feature. Let me pause and see if there's any questions. No, I think I accidentally hit something wrong there. My mistake. Let me pause for questions. Sorry, really quickly. Oh, Sal, I'm sorry. I see these chats coming up. It's weird. I'm no longer getting alerts for my chats. I'm sorry. Let me backtrack and read these. It's really weird. I used to get pop-up alerts, and now I don't see them. We have one that says, can we have children for blood work? Yeah, out of context. I love that. It's pretty funny. We should never say that in public. Hey, can I borrow your children for some blood work? One with a reminder and one without. Yes, you can. But let me show, this is the NBEA. Hang on to that question. I want to show you another feature of Actions. And then at the end, you can chime in. I want to answer that properly. What does update all bundles do in reminder actions? Well, what it'll do is if that item is part of a bundle, what will happen is that bundle will then inherit those actions. And that's a very useful feature, and that's entirely up to you if you choose to use that, okay? And I recommend doing it. It's a very useful feature. Again, my apologies with the chat. It's weird. It used to alert me. A little off topic, but is there a report that contains overdue reminders? Yeah, it is off topic. So I please ask that people keep these questions on topic. Sorry about that. But the report that for overdue reminders is, yes, you can go to, sorry, let me close out of this. You can go to, I got tasks coming up here. You can go to your reminders detail report under communications, and it is going to list, right, all of your reminders for any given time period. and it's going to say when they were sent and when they were due. And so by looking at when they were due, if the client didn't appear, this would be, it's not a direct report that says what's overdue. It will just show you, though, what is overdue. Okay. Sorry, I can't get into this too much just because I want to stay on topic. But this is the report you would use, Dr. Looper. Another question. What if you have a different prices for the same product? Sherry, yes. One vaccine is $10 and the annual is $20 or what have you. So this is a feature Vetter does not yet have for inventory uses. Unfortunately, the product has to be priced the same. And this is something that, it's unfortunate we haven't built that yet, but we are going to build it. It's slated for later in the year. What we've been teaching clinics to do in the meantime for quote unquote separate blood work, separate pricing is as follows, is if, you have to kind of make a note of the item. And then when you're in checkout, right, when you're in checkout, let's just say I come to billing here and I'm creating my final invoice, right? And this is the one I created for the Novivac 3-year, right? This is where, for example, you have the option of, this is, for example, I'm sorry here. This is where you could go ahead now, and I realize it's a bit of a pain, is you could kind of edit the item price if need be. So before the client sees it, right, I go ahead and I edit the item, and I say the unit price for this is actually, let's say, $25. Or what some clinics do is they'll add a fee in here. And they'll add the, what have you, a dispensing fee or something like this. Call it a fee. And I realize it is one more step, but until we have that feature built that allows for different pricing for inventory uses, these are the two most expedient ways to achieve achieve your aim of pricing items separately. And I hope that addressed your question there. And I believe that question came from Sherry. Mm-hmm. Yes. I have another question here from Dr. Looper. I'm having issues with the Abaxis lab rotors being used for different panels. I need that function to charge different prices. Inventory uses is not the place I would use Abaxis lab rotors for. If you'd, because you can price the Abaxis however you wish. This is something I would please call support directly on this, and we can work with you on that. Somebody asked, so how do I keep inventory? This session is focused on inventory uses and inventory uses and actions. Sorry about that. I can't go into how to keep inventory. So Sherry, I assume though your question is related to the different pricing there on the two items. So you can do this, okay, one of two ways. You can use let's add a fee at the very end, and that keeps inventory. Or you'd have to go back to, and sorry, let me jump back to my item. If you're going to price your inventory uses separately, okay, and you prefer, Sherry, and you prefer not to, add the fee at the very end, and that's what most of our clinics do, you would have to create two separate inventory items. You'd have to create Novivac, vaccine 1 year, Novivac vaccine 3 years. They're not then children, okay? They are just separate inventory items, priced separately, but they have separate inventory balances. So you would have to adjust balances between the two. And occasionally you'd have to look at it and say, God, the 1 year has, 10 more than the 3 year. Probably would be the other way around, right? And you'd have to make adjustments between the two to keep it perfectly balanced. So we added the uses feature to avoid that. We realized that they can't be priced differently. That's actually a difficult thing to build, but we are building it. So that's why we recommend the idea of, right, using that fee at the time of checkout. And I hope that helps. I have more chats coming in. From Sherry, thank you. Oh, no, from Audrey. Oh, Audrey's answering to Sherry. We have 2 items for a 1 to 3 year and keep 2 separate stocks for automatic balance. Thanks, Audrey. You answered that far more adroitly than I did. And Sherry, can you transfer from one item to another? No, you can't transfer. But what you can do is when you make an adjustment between, you want to balance the two, you can just say new adjustment here and say, again, you don't have negative 452, and simply say, well, I have 20 on hand now. And then what you could say is clinic use and say, hey, I transferred, 8 of them to the, 3-year tray or the 1-year tray. And that's what you'd have to do. I realize, again, imperfect, but it does work. More questions popping in? Okay, I like that. Okie dokie. Excellent, Sherry. I'm glad we were able to help there. So, and I apologize. It just didn't flash earlier in my questions. So I'm sorry for being late on those. So let's come back to actions here. A couple other actions. Now, let's take a look here. What do we have here? We've done patient status, the sex, reminder. I'm going to come back to reminder for one other thing. And then let's say there are tasks. And now this is, I find, one of the most powerful features is I want to generate a task, like a callback procedure. Call about patient health. Oops. Heath. I feel like a Heath bar. Yes. And I want to do this, 3 days after or what have you. And now that means anytime I add that item to a patient record, it will generate a callback task to, actually, let me show you this. It'll generate it to any specific person in the clinic. In this case, I only have my colleague, Sagi, and myself. Or you can assign it to a group, technicians, veterinarians, receptionists, general staff, what have you, okay? And so what that means, another little thing about actions, which is nice, if you went to a patient, when you're adding something to the patient record, okay, what is nice is that any action will be, and I like doing everything from the patient record, sorry, so I'm going back here on purpose. Any action will then be noted when you're recording the new item record or the new record field. And I realize most people skip over this because they're in a hurry, but just understand that right here, hey, this will create extra reminders. Hey, this will create a task. This will also disable other reminders. Okay? So realize these are always recorded there, and it's just a nice visual feature for you to remember things if, ever in doubt. Now, speaking of the remaining actions, disabling reminders. Let's say, for example, I switched from, which I did this example here, I switched from Novivac, or I switched from Defensor to Novivac. Why? Because I've got a new supplier, we're getting a better deal, and what I want to do here is I want to make certain that this disables all my other reminders, right, that I might have out there. Now, some of these are active, some are inactive. This is just kind of for demo purposes. And I would come here and I'd say, well, let's type in my rabies and let's get, these are already inactive. So I just want to make sure none of the other, right. And I'm just trying to be certain here. Inactive, inactive, inactive. Good. These are inactive. So there's no other, looks like, there are some other rabies that are active, right? So I just have a bunch in here. You get the idea here. IMRAB. Now I know there's some more IMRABs I have to get and what have you. I start marking these as inactive. Okay. And so that's a way then to go ahead and say, hey, let's make sure that nothing else is disabled. I'm sorry, let's make sure that no other reminder pops up. Now, the last thing I wanted to do, and this kind of goes maybe to answer that question about blood work, is I'm going to hit an action. We can also create reminders for other items. And in fact, let me do this with the DAPPV, okay? And the DAPPV, right, this is a series, and this feature was built specifically for vaccine series. So if I come to here and I create an action and I want to remind for another item. I want this to be reminded for another item. And I want this to be now for the DAPPV2, okay, what have you. The second one in the series. Now, you can keep reminding, right? I mean, it all depends, right? The DAPPV could be the same for the second dosage. I have talked to enough veterinarians to know that these things are tweaked depending on the location, the way you were trained, depending on the most recent science and data available. So if you wanted to create reminders for other items, this is the way to do it. Now, so we already have this reminder in place already, so it's letting me know. But let's say, hey, I've given my 3 series of the DAPPVs, and I want this to then trigger, after the 3rd set of puppy shots, I want this to trigger my 1-year rabies, right? And I'm going to go to my Defensor 1-year rabies. And now, right, 12 months, or in this case, 11 months and 3 weeks hence, Vetter will send out a reminder for the rabies. And this is how you can create reminders for other items in a vaccine series. Okay, let me pause for any questions on that. So I might think and then I'm going to tell you something else that's going to happen. Oh, okay. From Audrey, do auto tasks have to be assigned to one specific person or staff type? And I probably didn't do a good job of explaining that. It can be done to either one type of person or staff. We generally want the tech to perform the exam, to do the callback, for detect which team member it should have been assigned to. No, we don't have a way to detect, right, to whom the task should be assigned to, right? But when the task is assigned, right, if it goes to a group, right, and for example, if I look at my tasks, I'm looking at view all tasks here. And the task goes to a group. And in my example, it's not very good because there's only 2 of us and we're both admins, right? And it would say assigned to technician here. It would say tech. And then it's fair to assume the techs can view this and say, oh, I worked on Hooch, or I worked on Azrael, or I worked on Buddy, or send us a little helper. And that'd be a way for them to do the callback and say, hey, I worked on these individuals. Now, remember that tasks can all be managed, right, in reports under staff, where you can see tasks that are open that haven't been done. So if you wanted to see who's been doing their tasks and who hasn't been, checking your list, checking it twice, naughty or nice, right? Come to the open tasks function right here, okay? Now, let me go back, and this is also a very good preview. I want to preview something that is due for release. I think, well, engineers say tomorrow, which means they're going to, break my heart and release it on Friday or over the weekend. But we have a new feature that's coming out for vaccines. And it is going to be, if you take a look here and say, hey, I want to create a reminder. Right now in a series, it only allows you to create a reminder, for another item. If I had children, so I can create a reminder, for this item, but I can create a reminder for this item. but this is the parent. I'm not reminding for the parent. Right now, we don't have the ability to create a reminder for an inventory use, the children. And this does become valuable, like especially like, let's say, the rattlesnake vaccine series. Hey, the first one is in 6 weeks, the second one is 12, the third one's in a year, the fourth one's in 18 months, right? And what clinics had to do, they had to create separate items. But if you're reminding for a series, the new feature will say create reminder for an inventory use. So it'll allow you to create a reminder then for, hey, let's just say, let me jump back to my rattlesnake. Sorry. And here, while I show you these uses, what you'd have to do is you'd have to create a reminder for the rattlesnake vaccine in 1 month, which is great. And then when you give it, though, you'd have to manually add a reminder on the patient level for the rattlesnake vaccine in 2 months, okay? It's not going to, automatically cancel itself out and remind itself. The new feature, though, and what clinics have been doing is they would then give a 1 year, and then from the patient record, they would set a reminder for the rattlesnake vaccine 2 year. I'm sorry, the number 2 in the series, and then number 3. What the new feature will do, and that's why I wanted to use this session to give people a heads up, and I will announce it immediately as soon as it's out, is that you will be able to come to here and say, create reminder, right? And obviously it's not another item, and it's not exactly this item, it's this use. And there'll be a field here for uses, and then you can remind for the series, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that should make then everyone's life a little easier. The DAPPVs are easy because they're separate items, right? They're not the exact same item every time through. So I can remind for another item, but with something like rattlesnake vaccine, I have to do it manually. This will now will automate the process. And again, if you have a lot of items that need to be automated or set, use the bulk update feature. And I'm going to pause for questions here. And okay. All right. So great. I wanted to, this kind of wraps up the session right here. I want to see if there are any questions in general. You can go ahead and unmute your mic if you wish. And I hope this session helped describe how uses are used, no pun intended, and how actions work. All right. And stay tuned because, like I said, the next feature release in this series is going to be tomorrow. Actually, it's scheduled for tomorrow. Who knows? Might be Friday. I will announce to everyone as soon as it is released. And that'll make reminders even easier to then work for vaccine series. And this session, of course, is recorded and will be stored in the customer community later today. Are there any other questions here that I could help? And these are really good. And I want to make certain I got the blood work question here from NBEA. Can we have children for blood work? And yes, you can. And if you want a reminder for one and one without, you can do that too, right? By simply not setting a reminder, right? So if this were blood work here, I can come to here and edit this and simply say there is, none for a reminder, okay? I thought, though, the blood work thing might come into play, the blood work question. I saved it for the end, NBAA. I thought it might come into play with our new feature that's coming out, where you're reminding yourself for the same use. Otherwise, you would create something, a reminder for a different item. You could say blood work 1, and then I want to create a reminder for a separate item, blood work 2. And blood work 2 can choose to not have a next due date, not to have a reminder, and then you'll be good to go. So I hope that makes sense. Checking one last time. If there's any questions, please unmute yourself and let me know, or call us directly. Shoot me an email at matt@vettersoftware.com. I thank everyone for their time, and I hope I answered your questions. And again, NBEA, if you need more help with that, give us a call, but I hope this made sense. I see a message. Oh, thank you, Heidi. I appreciate the kind words. And thank you, NBEA. I hope that's going to work. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care and have a nice day. Bye-bye.